Hello, everyone. This is the package group weekly sync meeting for the 28th of October 2019. And I believe Steve has the first item.
Hello, everyone. So let's see, I wrote this a while ago. Oh yeah, so there's a new feature that allows you to set up one MR as being dependent on another, which is really cool. We were able to do it cross-project before, but now you can do it within the same project. Um, and so I just thought I'd share my experience because I've been able to make good use of it through some of the Conan MRs. And one of the things I've noticed is that it really helps the reviewers and maintainers realize that there are like either other MRs that are dependent on this one or that this one depends on other MRs. But there's also sort of a mindset of if something like directly depends or builds upon something else, the maintainers try to shy away from reviewing it until the dependent has been merged. So it's kind of like a mix of depending on how dependent it is, whether or not you want to push that into review right away. But overall, a very cool feature. The second thing is Darwin had mentioned in our channel that he'd like to do a chocolatey nougat demo, which sounds delicious. I don't know if anyone in particular had any interest in participating synchronously, so I thought I'd throw that out. He had asked when we wanted to schedule that. He's in Eastern US time zone. So I figured I'd throw it out and see, what might work best for whoever is interested most. Certainly it'll be async though. But if anyone wanted to note down there, and then we can get back to him and have him schedule something. Over to Dan.
Thanks for that. Did you want to just put the time in the S package just so peeps can see if they've got time, perhaps?
Will do.
Thanks. Yeah, John's beard update. Apparently he's using a new beard oil. Apparently it smells like pepper. Did you want to verbalize your comment there, Ian?
Yes, beard oil is very exciting because it's like changing the air freshener in your car. You kind of have a universal experience. So mine is currently transferred to winter holiday smell of candy canes and a little bit of tea tree. So I fully appreciate, John, this transition of new beard oil.
I'm so glad you shared, Ian. That sounds amazing.
Cool. Thank you for that, everyone. That was a very worthwhile update. Appreciate it. Hi, Chuck.
Hey, Chuck.
All right, but I think we're over to John for front end update.
Yeah, thanks, Dan, and thank you for adding that point to the agenda. I was laughing out loud when I read that on Friday. Made my day. Yeah, so front end update. So wanted to welcome Nathan Friend. Nathan is a senior engineer on the release team, and Nathan will be joining Package as the interim front end manager. So we're super excited about that. So Nathan's basically going to be coming over and stepping into my role, and he'll be doing that in an interim fashion. And I have one link in here to career development, trying the management track. Kind of gives a little bit of a summary of what this process looks like. So we're super excited about it. Anybody has any questions, please reach out to myself or Dan or Nathan. And if anybody has any details around like what one-on-ones look like or anything like that, Nick and Nico and I and Dan have already chatted about this. But if anybody else has questions, please let us know. Super happy to help answer those. So welcome, Nathan. And Dan, please jump in and feel free to add anything if there's anything else you wanted to add there.
Yeah, why don't you walk over just the transition in terms of the next several team meetings, etc., really quick, and then we can move on.
Yeah, absolutely. So Nathan will be here in all of these meetings, and he'll be kind of jumping in a little bit. I'll be serving as Nathan's manager, so I'll be here to help out and help transition Nathan into this role and any assistance he needs, any backup. As far as one-on-ones, we're following GitLab's preferred approach of one-on-two for roughly about a month, and then we transition fully over to a one-on-one with just Nathan and the front-end folks. So as far as meetings, I'll be stepping back a little bit from the synchronous meetings and focusing more on release, but I will still be around to help with anything, facilitate any type of process changes or anything like that. Yeah, and I will totally read for Gigi. Thanks, Dan. So Gigi will be out of office this Friday for doing some booth work at AppSec Day. That sounds super cool. Hope you have a great time, Gigi. And then Gigi's next point, I'm just gonna read this. It seems a lot of our issues with Docker could be solved if we had more control over the Docker API. I think we need to proxy the registry API calls so we can track tags created, images pushed, collect metadata, etc. We're missing out on a lot of data because we don't intercept the API. Do we have any plan on moving forward with this? Question mark, maybe a meeting to discuss it. David, do you want to verbalize your comment?
Yes. So perhaps we could discuss this on the architecture forum this week. I guess it's on Wednesday, so we could talk there about that.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Do you want to add it to the agenda, David, for this architecture forum? It's probably worthwhile.
Yeah, I will.
For new peeps who may not know, the architecture forum is, I think John's back. That was odd. Yeah, the architecture forum, the idea is to have a space to sort of look at slightly more forward-looking technical issues. And so this might be a good example of that. I think happy to discuss whatever in there, but you can visualize it as a flow of information from going from our Think Big sessions and other upcoming technical challenges we have as a place. The architecture forum is a place to sort of get together and talk about those things. Cool. Over to you, Ian.
Sorry, locked my computer and I couldn't unmute myself. Never fun. I just wanted to say that a lot of people participated in the brainstorming async session. Definitely a lot of lessons learned, but I got a lot of useful information, which is really beneficial for me. I just wanted to kind of get a temperature check and see how everyone else felt about it in case anyone had any really strong feelings about how it went. If not, we can discuss it on the issue itself if there's more details for sure. But thank you everyone for participating. I think that was the primary objective for adding it to today's agenda. And over to Nico.
Okay, so this is a follow-up as post weekly retro group level container registry browser. So what I want to say is that if it's okay to add double pagination as listed in the issue comment, this is something that we can release with very low effort, a little bit of backend and a little bit of front end. So maybe it's worthwhile to move this over or not. That's up to you. I just wanted to clarify that the amount of effort around adding pagination here is not so big. FF feature flag. And the other comment is that one of the two issues that I have assigned, the one that it's about warning the admin about too many tags, admin or developer about too many tags and prompting them to use the API to delete. I can freely finish the front-end part of it, but I'm not sure that the back-end part is trivial. So the weight on the issue needs to be considered for the front-end area, I think. There is inside a GG comment about the back-end part. I'm not sure that it can move forward in 12.5.
All right, can someone back-end take a minute to go take a look at that, Steve and or David, or Gigi, when you get a chance to look at this, just to get an effort estimate for that support. Steve, you got it? Thank you.
Yeah, I'll take a look and a comment on it.
Thanks, Steve. And over to you, David.
Yeah, so I have an issue about the new API for tags bulk removal at the group level. So it's almost done, but we have to limit how things are done. So this triggered, woo! Thanks for the agenda.
It was a rather large item.
Yeah. So this issue triggered a discussion about tags removal and about retention policies approach. So my question is, what do we do with the issue? Do we go forward or do we wait until we have something about these policies?
So one of the efforts that we have ongoing right now is to add limits to our code. This is something that we haven't got into too much yet, but we've been planning on doing it anyway. Our first steps for that were to go figure out what limits already existed, document those, and look for gaps. So I think having limits is consistent with our plans in future. So I think it's totally fine to add limits as a way to sort of have a quick path forward to resolving this and maybe generate another MR or another issue out of that. So my suggestion would be to do that.
I don't know if that's the right move in this case, because the limits are kind of it's complicated how it would actually work for this. And it seems like what Camille and Stan are suggesting is that we move forward, keep the project level version and start to work towards retention and expiration policies at the project or repository level. I think I'd rather, and I'm open to suggestions, but I think I'd rather start working through what that means. And maybe we could think about limits in terms of that, as opposed to like the group level delete and limits, which seems like it has some inherent problems with scalability and concerns about how we do that long term, because in the end, all of this stuff is going to end up in a database anyway, and it'll be much more efficient to solve that problem then, and now think about just like continuing to improve on the project level stuff that we have.
I think, yeah, fair enough. Thanks for that, Tim. So I guess from my perspective, we've had a lot of back and forward around the tag deletion, and there's been various efforts going on for a while. In different contexts. So my concern is that this code is just slow regardless. And so I don't really mind how we move forward. I just think that, as I was saying, limits are consistent with what we want to do, but if that's not the most practical way to move forward, I'm happy to do whatever people think. Like, I don't really mind, but we have to be, we have some of the slowest performance in that bulk delete API. So like we should be trying to address it at some level, right?
Well, I guess there's some confusion about that slow performance too, because, and I tried to unpack this a little bit in the issue, but I think that we talk a lot about the delete API, but there's a different delete API that's used for the front end and for the API container registry API. So the container registry API runs asynchronously as a background job. So the performance for that is not as much of a concern as it is for what we're using on the front end. Which is inefficient and which is one of the worst performing APIs that we have, but also is less used because we just don't see as many users going to the container registry and cleaning up images and deleting images from there. So in the issue David's talking about, I originally created this for creating a group level bulk delete, and Camille and Stan in the issue are saying like, this may not be a good idea, or yes, we could limit this, but it doesn't make sense that we should do it this way. What we should do is pursue project level or even container repository level retention policies. And then the things that probably need to be figured out there using that same API are the limits, but at the project level, and how we handle scalability for how this works. And Camille had some ideas that he wrote down there, and I think Nick added some ideas too as well. I think you're on mute.
If this is a back end effort and the MR is assigned to you, David, then that makes you DRI as far as I'm concerned, directly responsible individual. So you can consider feedback from Stan and Camille and input from the rest of the team, and then it's up to you to decide how you want to move forward or what you think the most practical approach is here.
Is that true? Because I actually have, this is like a weird thing for me, right? Because the original request was to do something at the group level, but it doesn't necessarily make sense if from a scalability perspective, it doesn't make sense. I don't want to just solve one problem because that was what we originally discussed, It seems like from the issue, like new information's coming up, and maybe that issue needs to change rather than just like sticking on the original thing and just saying, well, just solve what in whatever way you think is best. I don't know if that's true. I think we should have this conversation, and I'm happy to have it with David and Ian and like talk through what the best way to solve it is. But I don't know that it's just adding limits or doing what the original issue was.
Well, I mean, this seems like it's gone pretty far beyond the scope of a weekly team sync anyway at this point, Tim. So I think that if you feel like this needs to be addressed at a different level from a product perspective, that's totally fine. You're welcome to schedule something or just get into the architecture forum and discuss it there. From my perspective, if you think that we're addressing the wrong problem based on what you understand now, then I'm happy to not do that thing. But that this issue is still in the milestone. We have to say we're not doing it or we're changing it. If we're changing it, we have to look at how much effort's required to actually solve the new issue we're trying to solve. So there's a bunch of things we need to do there, but I'm happy to support whatever it is you feel like needs to happen going forward.
Okay. Yeah, I would have scheduled something, but I was out the past couple of days. So I think it's right that David brought it up here, and we should probably talk soon this week about it, because I do think I want to make sure we're solving the right problems and that we're doing so in a scalable way. And after reading Camille and Stan's comments, I wasn't convinced that my original solution was the right solution.
All right, so I will leave it up to you to schedule it or just discuss it in the architecture forum on Wednesday, Tim.
Okay.
Whatever you want to do moving forward there. Cool. Does anyone have anything else they want to chat about? And I'll take that as an awkward silence and a no. Sorry. Yeah, all right. So everyone hang around for a second. And I'm going to start recording now.